All right, hey guys, welcome to the video. If you're new here, my name's Curtis. Today I'm here with my buddy Max from the channel Ode to Enders. How you doing, man?
Doing very well. How are you, Curtis? Been watching your channel for a long time. You make very, I really like your video style. You really talk about the lifestyle in Japan and what you wear and the culture and how that affects fragrance. I think it's a very interesting perspective.
Appreciate that, man. Yeah, two big parts of my life, right? Japan and fragrance. So I guess it kind of just goes hand in hand for me. But yeah, man, thanks so much for coming on today. And I had reached out to Max to see if he wanted to come on the channel and if he had any ideas for what he wanted to talk about today, and he does, and we will talk about that in just a moment. But before we jump into that, talk a little bit about our sense of the day. Max, what are you wearing today?
I put on some Guerlain Neroli Ultra Noir today.
Ooh,
Um, I really love that fragrance. It's sort of this white floral tea citrusy combination, but it's very French and very Guerlain. Everything's very well balanced, and the tea note is sort of offset by this really interesting, never overdone, smoky sort of nuance. For whatever reason, it smells very yellow to me. That's just what I
oh,
think of.
wow. And so you said Neroli Ultra Noir, right?
Yeah, Neroli Ocean Noir.
Have you tried, isn't there another Guerlain under that same line? It's like Neroli.
Neroli Plein Sud.
Yeah,
Yeah,
have you tried that one?
that is a beast.
Is it really?
It is a giant fragrance. It's so I actually used to own that one, and I sold it actually.
Oh,
Um, it is a massive spicy take on that neroli note,
yeah.
but the thing that put me off of it was actually the longevity. I think the musks, there's a lot of musks in that fragrance, and I think they tried to extend the longevity, but they kind of did it a disservice, in my opinion. It's still really beautiful. It's one of the longest lasting fresh fragrances I've ever come across,
Yeah.
and the projection's really strong as well. Um, but if you're looking for like a more masculine leaning, spicy floral, that's definitely a good one.
Wow, nice, man. Nice. Yeah, Guerlain's phenomenal brand, but those are two actually, the one that you're wearing now and the other one that you just mentioned, terrible names. But I haven't worn either of those. I've never sampled either of those. So yeah, next time I'm in Tokyo, I'll have to do that. Actually, I'm going to be heading out to Tokyo later today, so I'll see if maybe I can get my nose on those. Very
Yeah, you should
nice,
smell
man.
both. They're great.
Awesome. Yeah, as for me, you know, to give everybody who's watching an idea for the time schedule here, Max is in the States, so it's 5 or 6 o'clock there, or 5 o'clock,
Yeah, about 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, and I'm in Japan, so it's 6 in the morning here. So I have not put anything on today, but it is going to be a hot one. It's kind of a rainy, we're kind of in that typhoon season now, so I think I'm probably going to go with maybe Love After Rain by Dorsey. Um, Huge fan of that brand. Just kind of really speaks, I think, to the Japanese aesthetic here with those kind of light, airy. There's a lot of iris running through there, a little bit of orris, and then there's some kind of has this kind of woody, mossy base, but it just comes off very light and airy, and just, it's nothing too heavy, nothing that's gonna come off cloying in this Japanese kind of humidity that we're having right now. So yeah, I think I'll probably go with that fragrance. It's Dorsey's newest release actually, but it is quite lovely. Have you experienced anything from Dorsey? Or are you?
So I've had a couple samples from Dorsey. It's never been a brand that I've been interested in for whatever reason.
Hmm.
There's a floral one that I forget the name of. Maybe it's Flower Lust.
Flower? Oh, one of the extracts.
Yeah, one of the extracts. And then I also smelled Tonka Hysteria.
Hmm.
Um, Other than that, I really have absolutely zero experience with the brand. But I know you really like them.
Yeah, and I kind of like I used to own actually both of those extracts, but I've gotten rid of them.
Okay.
And I prefer Dorsey. It's more kind of there's a proper name for it, but their regular line, right? Just the kind of the black tops and the clear
We
bottles.
can't be expected to remember the fragrance line names at this point. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
it's just too much. It's too much.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I prefer the regular line. It just kind of, I guess, speaks to me and my personality a little bit better. I'm more of the kind of, I'm not so big into like the big, heavy,
Loud.
loud fragrances. But
We're
yeah.
Oud Indochine though.
Oh, well, I have to make exceptions here and
Of
there.
course, of course.
Yeah, yeah. That one is a stunner, by the way. My goodness.
It's my favorite, maybe my
Oh,
favorite oud like ever.
yeah, I would say I would completely agree. I mean, in my collection too, it's probably my favorite. Not probably, it is my favorite oud fragrance, and I think it's my favorite from the House of Maxime.
I would agree. Yeah, definitely.
Extremely well constructed, beautiful stuff. But yeah, man, hopping into it. So, when I had reached out to Max, you know, I said, "Hey, is there anything you want to talk about?" And he said, "Well, how about vintage masculine fragrances?" And I thought phenomenal because, and I told Max, I said, "Hey, when I think Max, Ode to Enders, like the first thing that comes to my mind is vintage." And I was thinking about
Okay.
why is that? Because I think a lot of like the videos that I've seen from you, um, of course, you're not only showing vintage fragrances, but you do show quite a bit of vintage fragrances. And it's not necessarily vintage masculine, but you do have a lot of that. But you're also showing like vintage amouage, maybe other from other brands. So,
Yeah.
and I know, we've talked a little bit back and forth like on Instagram, and I know you just put out the video on vintage Anateus, right?
And yeah, that's a
So
doozy.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, when I think Max, vintage comes to mind. So this is probably maybe the perfect topic to talk about today.
Yeah.
But to kind of kick things off, I guess I guess we're going to talk a little bit about today, like what masculinity used to smell like. And I guess the first question to kind of start off with is, uh, do you think modern masculinity has become soft, and how it
I,
compares to how things used to be in perfumery?
I just think a lot of the character on both sides actually, feminine and masculine leaning fragrances, traditionally speaking. I feel like there's a lot of overlap now, whereas before perhaps there's a little bit more of a unique landscape. Everything from Chanel number 5 to Opium to, Chanel number 19, all this stuff. They all smell very, very different. Whereas now, I mean, how many like white musk skin scents are there, and they're all
Yeah,
targeted unisex. And
yeah,
then you smell something that's targeted masculine, but it's a white musk skin scent.
yeah.
So it's really interesting the way everything's going.
So like what do you think were some like if you're looking back to those vintage fragrances, what are some particular notes that were associated with like masculinity back then, in your opinion?
The first one that jumps to my mind is immediate oak moss.
Yeah,
Oak moss for sure. And then I would also say a lot of the aromatic notes, right? A lot of the greener aromatic stuff, maybe something like, galbanum with that ashy sort of cigarette-y thing you smell in Chanel number 19. Oak moss with that particular texture that had lavender for sure,
yeah,
patchouli, um, leathers of different sorts and varieties, and I have a couple to talk about actually. But yeah, I would just say the notes that have been regulated heavily, kind of.
yeah. Vintage fragrances, from back then, do you feel like they won't necessarily work into today's society? Like maybe for a few reasons, maybe it's the profile, but do you feel like they might be considered too aggressive for like the soft man nowadays?
I would. So, I mean, can I pick up a fragrance to talk about? Because I think
Yeah,
this might fit in.
yeah, yeah,
So, you mentioned Vincent Zenteas. Of course, I brought it to talk about. So, this is a 1980s bottle. This is very much of its time. And if I smelled this on somebody today, I would be like, first of all, as a frag head, I would immediately know that this guy knows what he's doing. Because you don't just wear Antaeus in 2026,
yeah,
especially not vintage. But this would come off as surprising, like a very different scent profile than what you would typically smell out and about.
Hmm.
with the shower jelly stuff and the amber woods and all sort of the clean skin scents, smelling a 1980s, hyper masculine, slightly animalic Chypre would be like, whoa, like
Yeah.
what is that? So does it fit with like, I mean, what did you say? Like like the softer take on masculinity today?
Yeah.
It almost depends on, it almost kind of depends on who's wearing it. Like if I were to smell this on, like I don't know, go to the supermarket, 20-year-old kid is wearing Antaeus. I would not personally view that as out of place,
Yeah.
but I suppose that's just because I'm into fragrances, right? If I was someone that really doesn't know anything about this and I smelled that, I think I would definitely think of an older time period. Outdated smell perhaps a little bit. Um
But let me ask you this though, but what like if you're looking at this like from somebody who's not into fragrances like we are,
yeah.
what specifically would make that fragrance smell dated to you?
I think maybe the structure of the fragrance.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
think Chypras aren't necessarily something you come across very often
Yeah.
in a modern perfume structure. And if you do come across a Chypra, it's something like, I don't know, Chanel 31 Rue Cambon. I don't know, have you ever smelled that?
Yeah, I have that one.
It's
Yeah.
extremely elegant. It it doesn't have that, I guess, bite that something
Yes.
like Antaeus has with the castoreum and that sort of stuff. So I think note selection plays into it for sure.
Yeah.
How you use those notes, maybe the aggressiveness of the structure, and a lot of some contrast as well. I think
Yeah.
it all plays a little bit of a part there.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's definitely the structure of the perfume. And obviously, I think some notes and ingredients that they just used before, they just kind of had a different effect overall on the fragrance's vibe. So I think,
Absolutely.
and if you're not used to, and I can't say that I'm obviously used to a whole lot of vintage fragrances. I don't have a whole lot of experience with like vintage fragrances, definitely not as much as you or somebody like Mo, right? Um, but yeah, I can see like if I hadn't smelled some of these profiles before, like it could even, I feel like it could be a definite shock to the system. There's no doubt about it.
But I also think it was just a very different time. And I also feel like back then, people were almost more willing to represent themselves in an unapologetic manner. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
And I also feel as though some of the scent profiles back then they were unapologetic in the way they were constructed, but also a couple of them were very professional leaning, very appropriate,
hmm,
very classy and put together at all times, you know?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
feel like society stretching back, multiple decades at this point, um, it was a little bit more, it was definitely more formal. At least that's how I view it I'm 28. Um, People, I feel like you look at old tapes of, stuff even in 60s and 70s and stuff, and I feel like
yeah,
society just worked completely differently. You
yeah,
saw suits on the streets a lot more. You almost never see that, at least where I live, nowadays. And suits in the workplace. I'm not sure what your experience is with this, but
yeah.
I have a couple family members that work in, environments where you typically traditionally wear more formal garments, and now people are going in there with like t-shirts and shorts and stuff. So,
Hmm.
um, and I feel like fragrances followed that trend. I feel like it's not necessarily apologetic scent profile, but scent profiles that are not, you don't want to offend, you don't want to really
Yeah,
smell of particularly anything too much,
yeah.
which follows into that ambiguity that I mentioned.
100%. And just kind of in your opinion, and coming from somebody who is in their 20s, but having a lot of experience with like vintage fragrances, do you feel like, specifically men smelled better um, before fragrances became like more kind of like mass marketed and crowd pleasing, essentially?
I feel personally the way I view it, and of course we have to. I'm just going to say this: fragrance is a very subjective thing; it's very personal, all
Yes.
that sort of stuff. But personally, how I view it is, I if I smelled someone wearing like a I don't know, a fougere, just fougere scent profile. Let's say, I don't know, Bon Monsieur by Rogue Perfumery. If I smelled something like that, I would respect the personal choice, right? Like,
Yeah,
wow, this guy like thought about what he likes, and it's classy, but it's also distinctly has this almost indescribable masculine edge to it with that
yeah,
sort of clean, but there's something slightly darker under there. It's utilitarian in a way. It's almost in a weird way, kind of like reassuring. Like this guy
yeah,
knows what he's doing almost, you know?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
There's a sense of like confidence about that, I think.
yeah,
I think for me too, I mean, obviously there are, I think, current fragrances that I really enjoy, but I think now, especially given the time in my life, like where I'm at, like I'm really jumping back towards those, I guess you could argue as like more mature kind of scent
yeah.
profiles, but I just feel I love the depth and character about them. I just feel like they just speak a little bit better to my own personality.
That's a big one that you just mentioned, the depth.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of perfumes nowadays are they don't necessarily have that same level of journey, you know.
Hmm.
That this isn't true for all of them, but if we're talking about something like the real popular stuff on the market, um, Dior Sauvage,
Hmm.
it's not really going to be a big, transitioning thing with a whole lot of layers and all this stuff. I feel like that's just a demonstration of where the industry sort of went. A lot of the fragrances use the same materials, and
Yeah.
a lot of fragrances are kind of different riffs on each other. Different categories were invented, in what was it? I believe 2011. The
Yeah.
blue fragrance category kind of came about with
Yeah.
Bleu de Chanel, I believe, was the first one, maybe,
Yeah.
Dior Sauvage shortly after that, and
Yeah, I think
then
so.
that sort of shower jelly. I view it as very non-committal, honestly. Like
Yeah.
you smell like a shower gel. It's nice, it's great, it's inoffensive. That sort of took over everything, and now it's still, I believe, some of the top-selling perfumes in the entire world.
Those fragrances, I think some of them, obviously, like Bleu de Chanel, is like, what I think of as like a classic fragrance. I mean, it does what it was intended to do, right?
Hmm.
But I don't know if I would necessarily, when I think like classic fragrance, I think like Guerlain Heritage
Oh
or
yeah.
something kind of like that. I wouldn't necessarily lump Bleu de Chanel in that same category at this point for me personally.
No, absolutely not. And I think time will tell the same story. I don't think people will ever view Bleu de Chanel as maybe some people will view it as a classic, but in
Yeah.
terms of classic perfume, I don't think it'll ever enter the same territory as stuff like, Abbey Rouge or,
Yeah.
Antaeus or Heritage or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's a completely different time in the whole world, really. Like
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, totally. Did you, by the way, you mentioned Hobby Rouge. Did you bring that today?
I did not actually, but I have it. I brought another one out
Oh,
from Guerlain. Well, I won't spoil anything, but yeah, you already mentioned Heritage, so.
I was gonna bring that too, but I didn't. But I actually brought one fragrance too, and you might have this, and I'm curious to hear your opinion if you think this is this distinctly masculine fragrance. But I do have a vintage version of Eau d'Hermès.
Ooh,
Yes.
I do. I own the modern version.
This one, actually, I'm gonna put this on my hand right now just for good times. I just sprayed that into my coffee. Lovely.
Oh
Um,
no.
yeah. But man, this one is gorgeous. And I have to say this, like before I actually I bought this blindly, had never smelled a modern version of it.
Okay.
And so I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. What I quickly came to find out was that this has a heavy blast of cumin,
Yeah.
as you know. And so for me, cumin is a note that I personally struggle with. However, in this particular formulation, I have never smelled the current version of this, but in this particular version, I can totally do this. I don't know what it is, but it's like the combination of like this citrus, slightly kind of almost animalic smelling kind of cumin, like with light leathery facets to this. But
You get
man,
spices in that as well.
very, yes. It is
Yeah.
very spicy. So beautiful though. So beautiful. And actually, one of my buddies here in Tokyo, he was saying that his wife loves wearing this. And but for me, when I smell this, this smells distinctly masculine to me. But what's your opinion on this fragrance?
So that is actually really interesting that your friend's wife wears eau de Hermes. That is
Yeah,
really awesome.
yeah,
Uh so the modern version to me, I spoke to Rich Mitch before I bought my bottle, and he basically just told me that the vintage is just a little bit more, right? So what you're smelling in your hand right now is probably a little bit more, maybe denser in a way, maybe a little bit
yeah,
more present. But the modern still retains that sort of cool, spicy, cumin, citrusy thing with some leathery facets, and I get quite a lot of spices in there as well.
yeah,
So it's just maybe a little bit thinner.
yeah, yeah. I
When
mean,
I
just
smell Eau de Hermes,
yeah,
it does come off to me as, at least the modern version, um, as something that could be worn by a woman. I think it could be considered unisex nowadays because I think in the air, it's kind of abstract. I almost get like, I don't know why I think about this, but it's a cumin. I almost get like a little tiny bit of a culinary vibe, but not in like a
yeah,
bad way, not like an immortelle way. It's like a
yeah.
very beautiful, spiced, kitcheny association to me. I don't know why,
I can see
but
that.
the way that I think it's the citrus is the key as to why this fragrance is wearable by almost anyone. I think about it like this: all of the notes in Eau de Hermes when I wear it, they kind of hold hands a little bit. So
Hmm.
you got that citrus sharpness, but also cumin is kind of sharp, right?
Yes.
But I think the combination of those two, it takes the edge off of both, and
Yeah.
then the spices and everything, the way they're dosed, I think it helps tame it a little bit.
Yeah, man, very well said. I 100% agree with that. Now, and this is what's I think pretty interesting about this fragrance for me too, is with that kind of the cumin in here, and like I said, it has these very light, kind of leathery, almost animalic facet to it. I mean, very subtly, right? But
Yeah.
but this is a fragrance that I can pull off in the summertime. I never would have expected that when I first smelled this, but it works. And even in the humid
I
heat
wear it in the
here, it
summer.
works.
It,
Yeah.
it's it has that very particular, I call it the vintage growl. You know what I mean? There's something about it where like it just kind of works. You have to wear fragrance that has a particular level of it because there are
Yeah,
definitely levels of that vintage sort of growl, but Eau de Hermes, I always have viewed Hermes as maybe even it's up there with Chanel classiness to me. And
absolutely.
I think their perfumes really reflect that.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Yeah, I would say in terms of, obviously like designer houses, Hermes, Chanel, like it's hard to beat them.
I
It
should have
really is.
grabbed Equipage Geranium. God.
Oh, I should have grabbed that
I
too.
should have grabbed it.
Doggone it. I totally forgot.
You
Or
have it
yeah.
too?
Oh, I have that too. Yeah.
It's an incredible fragrance.
Oh, it is one of my favorites from Hermes, and I don't know why I didn't grab that, but yes. What else do you got, Max?
So, I'm gonna grab something that so, so you mentioned your friend's wife wears Eau de Hermes.
Yes.
I personally view Eau de Hermes as something that definitely everyone could pull off, right?
Mm-hmm.
This, I don't think I would struggle to see this on any of the women in my life. Put it that way. You know what I mean?
Okay.
This is Roja Danger Parfum Pour Homme,
Ooh, I've
which
never
is, of
smelled that.
course,
Yeah.
Roja's take on Guerlain Heritage.
Oh, okay. I think I heard Mo talking about this.
This is, I just got this recently. This is a fragrance that's taken me 2 years to come around to, and I'm not sure why. Heritage for me, I love vintage fragrances. I love vintage masculine smelling fragrances with the lavender and sandalwood and all this sort of stuff. But for whatever reason, Heritage always came off as pretty harsh to me, particularly in the opening.
Yeah.
And then I heard Mo talk about this, and I know Mo doesn't want me to mention, oh, Mo influenced me because he's gonna be like, no, no. But don't worry, Mo. I really like it, so you can relax.
Shouts to
Um,
Mo.
Shout out to Mo, by the way. Great channel. Roja, of course, is kind of notorious in his Parfum Pour Homme line for doing riffs off of classic fragrances. Danger is, in my opinion, having owned Vintage Heritage and having currently owned the Vintage EDP, I think Danger does Heritage better than Guerlain.
Wow,
And that's
really?
sacrilegious for a lot of Guerlain lovers, but there's something about that particular fragrance. It is incredible. The opening, it does have that Roja sort of cumin thing that he does,
Yeah.
but then it settles down because as you know, Curtis, 'cause I know you love Heritage, the
Yes.
stars the dry down. And it has this amazing sort of, creamy lavender, patchouli, woodiness. And of course, it has the Guerlainade with that sort of, I'm not sure if you get it in Heritage a lot, but that like Tonka, slight sweet
Yeah.
vanilla that
Yep.
takes the edge off. And in Danger, it's just insane. It's such a great fragrance. There's
Damn
also a
it.
ton of oak moss in Heritage too, particularly the vintage version.
Real
Um,
man.
but overall, stunning, absolutely stunning. And the reason why I couldn't see, any of the women in my life pretty pulling that off is because I think it has a smorgasbord of, in my opinion, very masculine leaning notes to begin with, but they're
Yeah.
also done in a masculine way. Do you understand what
Mm.
I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like you think of
totally.
lavender, and lavender can be absolutely unisex. You think of something like, I'm not sure if you've ever smelled it, Serge Luton's En Sons et Lavande. It's
Never
basically an
smelled it.
incense lavender.
Okay.
The lavender in that fragrance smells like sharp, cold, metallic, slightly herbaceous, but
Hmm.
overall completely wearable by anyone. The
Mm.
lavender in Heritage is that shaving foamy, sort of herbaceous,
Yeah.
textured lavender, right? And that to me, I do associate that personally to like a very masculine smell.
Yeah. Yeah, me as well.
And then the woods in here combined with the cumin, I think I think texture does play a large part in why I perceive it as very, very masculine.
Wow. And like I get confused with Roja a little bit. Can you
Yeah.
they have so many like
Oh,
versions of
it's a
like
mess.
can you tell me the name of that one more time?
So this is Danger Parfum Pour Homme.
Danger.
You need the black cap, and
The
then if
black
you can
cap.
find it, bottle with the name on the side like that.
Okay.
If you can find it.
Yeah.
But if you can't find it, just the plaque version like this with the gold plaque on the front,
Got it.
that'll do just fine.
Okay. Wow. Damn. See, now I kind of wish you wouldn't have mentioned this because now I'm gonna have to go and look for it right after this.
If you've never smelled it, I'm letting you know right now, it is more of, I would say, I perceive it to be as quite a strong fragrance.
Okay.
So that might not fit your particular use case scenario with
Yeah.
your, culture in Japan and all that. That's just how I perceive it. I
Hmm.
think it's because you love Heritage, you
Yeah.
have to smell Danger. You have to. And
Wow.
the parfum. Don't worry about the parfum cologne or whatever. Yeah, you're gonna love
Come up
it.
with. Dang, man. That sounds really, really good.
It's
Kind
really
of
good.
love heritage. So if this is pushes in that direction and kind of if it's
At
better,
bare
ooh,
minimum, in my opinion, it is at least tied with vintage gold cap Heritage for
oh
me.
wow. And that's what I have. I have that vintage gold cap heritage. So yeah, man, I would love to get my hands on a bottle and compare for sure.
I
Yeah.
apologize for costing you money. I really do.
Yeah, yeah. I hadn't planned on searching for any fragrances today, but damn it, now I'm gonna have to do that.
Ah, very sorry, Kurt.
Wow,
It'll be worth it though.
man,
You'll love it.
awesome. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to finding it. What else do you got, man?
So, going to something completely and utterly different.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure you know this brand. This is Eugene's brand. Les Substrates.
Oh, yes,
This is Descendris.
I think you and I were talking. I actually just ordered a bottle of Philosopher's Walk, but yes,
Philosopher's Walk is another one you kind of could have included, I think. But
yeah,
this to me, this is more of very classic leaning. This is a very green, leathery chypre to me, kind of. It has that galbanum ashiness, kind
yes.
of reminiscent of, I think this fragrance is compared to a lot to Aramis Devon, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken. Really, really old school vintage stuff. But has that distinct green galbanum ashiness,
Oh,
slightly bitter, super like leathery, smoky, but it's not like a birch tar. No, it is a birch tar smoke. I apologize, sorry, but it's not like an interlude smoke, That's what I meant
yeah,
to say. It's
yeah,
not like black smoke. It's kind of this wispy green smoky leather with some piney woodiness. It's just to die for.
yeah, yeah, and it's probably yeah, and it's I think it's good that you brought that one specifically. I know you have the entire collection you had mentioned, but that one
Yeah,
is distinctly the most masculine in the group. Would you agree?
I would absolutely agree. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think the reason why it comes off as so masculine is once again, I think the way the notes are handled,
Yeah.
I think it does lean very masculine. The smokiness, the leathery aspects, and I think what really seals it is that galbanum green ashiness with the woody, cypressy, sort of piney, woody sort of aspects.
Yeah.
Um, Dry as well, very dry to my
Very dry,
nose.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that one distinctly, I have a decant of that one, and man, that one distinctly stands out from the rest. I mean, you can still pick up on the house DNA in there, but it's like that one really kind of, you have the other three and this one just kind of jumping out of the group a bit. Beautiful. The whole line is just really, really lovely.
I've never been. I can't believe I don't own the whole brand of anything. Like the fact that Eugene with Antoine Lee, which is one of my favorite perfumers, they
Yes.
haven't missed in my opinion. That's super super impressive. Uh, and I'm very scrutinous when it comes to this stuff too. I don't just go buy things like,
Did you
especially
just
with prices nowadays. It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just out of curiosity too, did you just like did when you first experienced that brand, did you get like a sample set or did you just get one and then you were like, "Oh, I need to sample everything else from this house?"
So the first thing that I did was I went on the website. I bought samples. I
Hmm.
bought samples of La Douleur-Skis,
Okay.
Bellam, and that was it at the time. Philosopher's Walk wasn't out. And I remember this is probably over a year ago when my taste was way different. I remember smelling La Douleur-Skis, and I think my sample actually was bad. This is one
Oh.
of the only times I've ever experienced this. The rosiness in that fragrance was totally gone, and it was just I was left with raw castoreum basically.
Ooh.
So that put me off that fragrance for the longest time. But I
Yeah.
kept watching videos, and I eventually came around to it, and I got another sample, and it was just utterly gorgeous, and I ended up buying it.
Oh
And
wow.
but the real one that I really fell in love with first was Bellam, which do you know what it smells like?
I do that. It's the powdery iris, right?
Yeah, the powdery iris Tonka thing. That's up there for me with iris fragrances of like all time.
Oh wow.
It's fantastic.
Wow. Would you say that iris is like one of your favorite notes?
I'm very particular with iris. I don't like that sort of chalky iris.
Okay.
They're very. I'm not sure if you smelled it, but Iris Silver Mist by Serge Lutens.
Never.
Very dry, powdery, almost bitter dry. I don't like that. I do like my irises to be more of like butterier, I guess, for lack of a
Okay.
better term. Like a richer, sort of more floral, smoother take on iris.
And would you say that, obviously we're talking about masculine kind of
Hmm.
sense. Would you say that for you, does Iris register as more of like a masculine or feminine note to you?
That's a very interesting question, actually. Like, well, okay, from a frag head perspective, unisex.
Okay.
But if I didn't know anything about perfume, I think it would probably register as a feminine note.
I would agree.
Yeah, because I think it has well, it's a floral, right? Has this floral airiness. Definitely the powderiness for sure is another contributing factor. I think Iris for some new noses can be like, sort of grandma perfume initially.
Cosmetic-y a little bit.
Cosmetic-y, yeah, makeup sort of thing. I think if I were just wipe everything I know about perfume and go smell like, yeah, if I smelled Bellam, I would probably consider it to be feminine leaning, with also the sweetness from the vanilla in there as well would also push it. But
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one kind of like, I mean, obviously, Eugene, he really enjoys French perfumery, right? So I think in French perfumery, a lot of times too, it's like, I think iris does tend to float through. I think just naturally in French perfumery, a lot of times, like you see it like in Chanel, you see it in D'Orsay, you see it. I think it just kind of
Guerlain
references
as
that
well.
style for me too. I feel like it registers feminine, depending on how it's used. I guess the overall composition can still come off masculine depending on how it's used, but for the most part, it kind of I think helps to bridge that gap between masculine and feminine fragrances.
Yeah, I think it can be used as sort of a, again, I mentioned like in Eau d'Hermès, the
Hmm.
citrusy sort of hand holding thing. I think
Yeah,
Iris is great at holding hands of other notes, you know.
yeah, I would agree.
Um, and a masculine iris you mentioned. I'm not sure if you've ever smelled Opus 5, but particularly the vintage version from Amouage.
No, I
Uh,
haven't.
that that's a masculine iris.
Whoa. And what is it about that fragrance that makes it masculine iris to you?
Boozy animalic.
Oh,
So
boozy
it
animalic.
booty boozy. I said booty.
Booty.
Great, great. Comment section. Timestamp this, but boozy animalic with that sort of particular buttery smooth iris thing. It's really unique fragrance. I believe
Wow.
the perfumer was Jacques Cavelier Beltrude, the Louis Vuitton
Oh,
guy.
oh
Yeah,
wow.
so he can do some crazy stuff if you let him.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like the fresh fragrance guy.
He's kind of the guy. Yeah, he made
The guy.
imagination. So
Yeah, wow. Wow, interesting, man. How wearable is that for you?
I haven't worn it yet, actually. I put it on skin a couple times. I'm gonna wear it in the fall. I
Okay,
definitely read it as more of a cold weather scent profile.
got it.
I think, honestly, I think it would come off the air as pretty abstract. I don't think people would read it as overtly animalic. I'm not talking like Overture Man, right?
Yeah.
I think it would come across as fairly elegant with a little bit of an edge.
And do you think like in the air too, do you think it would, obviously if you're putting it up skin and smelling it up close, it's and given the scent profile, it's probably gonna smell quite masculine, possibly, but like in the air, do you think that like those kind of masculine features would be softened at all or
Yeah, I do think so, actually. I
Mhm.
think up close, you definitely get more of the base. But in the
Okay.
air, I think it would be a little bit more diffusive and sort of floaty.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, interesting, man. Wow. Curious to hear your thoughts after you get a chance to really kind of dive into that one in the
Yeah,
fall.
it's gonna be one of the first ones in the fall that I'm gonna put on for sure.
Oh, fantastic, man. What else did you bring today?
So let's see. We're talking about Amouage, so let's bring out one of the unheralded goats, in my opinion. This is so underrated, Curtis. Okay, this is Opus 2
Oh, I haven't tried that
from
one
the
either.
library collection. This is Opus 2.
Wow.
This is Amouage does a Fougère before Bracken Man.
No way.
So this is this very sharp green, sort of almost, to my nose at least, absinthy, lavender shaving foamy fougere with a lot of spices. So if you've ever smelled Epic Man from
Yeah.
Amouage,
Yep.
you know the green spicy thing?
Yep.
It reminds me, this fragrance reminds me of that Epic Man green spiciness, but you take away all the underlying kind of funk, right, from Epic Man. There's a little bit of funk in Epic Man because of like the oud and I think there's castoreum.
Yeah.
This has that same green spicy feel, but I want you to imagine if you've smelled Invasion Barbar, right?
Yep.
You take the shaving foamy lavender thing from Invasion Barbar and then you make it an amouage with like spicy things.
Ooh.
It's really good. It's really
Ooh.
good.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I think that one too. It's like I've never heard anybody really talk about that. It is discontinued.
It is tragically discontinued, yeah.
Oh,
Oh man. Yeah, and the absinthe thing, at least I read it as, I think there's wormwood, which
okay.
makes me think of that. So it does have this very short-lived, in my opinion, green boozy edge.
Yeah.
It's really
Is
cool.
is it something kind of like in like oh gosh, what's the fragrance? Like for example, and you may have smelled this before, I'm not sure, but like something like Mousse Illuminé, you know how it has that kind of green mossy absinthe.
Yep,
Does it
yep.
have that type of vibe to it?
I would say no. I would
Okay.
say Musa Lumine is distinctly more overtly green and dense and mossy.
Okay.
Whereas Opus 2 to me is shaving foamy, slightly woody, lavender, spicy.
Have you worn this one out yet, or is
Oh
this a
yeah.
new acquisition?
I wore this in the spring. I wore
Nice.
this quite a bit. So these bottles come really full. So they come like pretty much all the way to the top. I wore, I don't know, that's probably about 3 ml of it. I got this late in the spring though. I would have worn it way more, but yeah,
Wow. And
that's
what,
so good.
just out of curiosity too, like what kind of, I mean, obviously Amouage is known for heavy pushers, but like does this one push more like a fougere to where it's like more of a moderate type of elegance, or is it like pushing?
I would not say, at least how I perceive it to be, I wouldn't say it's a monster. I
Yeah.
really wouldn't. I would say it's more tame, but
Ooh.
definitely has that amouage sort of longevity. You're gonna get
Hmm.
good. I got good longevity with it for sure, especially on clothes. I would say it's one of the more traditional fragrancy fragrances from amouage, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna get about 6 to 8 hours, right? And then it by hour like 2.5, it's a skin scent and it's great.
Wow. And have you smelled Bracken Man?
I own Bracken, yeah.
You own Bracken. And what do you have a preference? Because Bracken, I've never smelled Bracken, but
Oh,
I, I've heard others talk about it. But that also kind of pushes in that fougere territory, correct?
absolutely. But Bracken is a very particular fougere. It
Okay.
is very heavy on spicy, woody cloves.
Okay.
And it's also much stronger than Opus 2 to my nose.
Oh. And which
So
one do you personally prefer?
Bracken, I think.
Oh,
If
really?
I had to choose, I would
Wow.
choose Invasion Barbar. If I had to choose, I would choose Invasion Barbar over Opus 2
Oh,
personally,
yeah.
and I would choose Bracken over Opus 2. But
Interesting.
it's like one of those things where they're different. You know what I mean, Curtis?
Yeah.
Like I would,
It would be
they're
it's really hard to pick. Yeah.
they're all so good.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, man. I wasn't even aware of Opus 2 until you just said this. Wow, but now I'm super intrigued.
Yeah, you got to look at Danger and Opus 2.
Dang.
I gotta warn you though, Opus 2, maybe actually no, you might get lucky because of your geographical location. So
Yeah.
maybe you can find a good deal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've definitely seen those kind of the older bottle style Amouage, the Opus collection floating around on Metacarty. Now, I wouldn't say that it's been super inexpensive,
No.
but probably not as expensive as it might be in the States.
I got this sealed full presentation for I want to say like 370,
Oh, you did pretty good.
which is not bad. It's
Yeah,
a little
not
more than I
bad.
wanted to spend, but
Yeah.
for vintage sealed homage, I'm okay. That's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's actually not that bad. And I would say in terms of what I've seen from that collection here in Japan, yeah, I mean it you can probably get it anywhere from like two something up to like, like
Middle
400 or something like
four,
that.
middle, yeah, something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Unless you're
So,
talking Opus 6, which goes for that's the one that Mo really raves about, the Amber. Goes
oh,
for like
really?
crazy money. I've seen people buy I've seen that go for $700 easy.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah, sealed like a sealed bottle, 100 ml of Opus 6, easy like 5 to $700.
Crazy. Okay.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting, man. What else do you got? I'm like learning like so much here.
So this is if I had to choose a signature scent,
Yeah.
this would be this would be it, I think. Like I wear this around people. I wear this to events and gatherings and all this sort of stuff. And this is Tom Ford Beau de Jour. This is, but specifically the private label, the
Ooh.
private blend bottle. Um,
Okay, can I ask real quick? So
yeah,
I have Beau de Jour. I don't have the private blend bottle. I have the other version from the
yeah,
signature line. But have you smelled both and what's the difference
I
between the
have.
two?
So the consensus, I've asked Mo this as well. The consensus is the private blend is it has way more patchouli
Okay.
and Rich Mitch thinks there's amberwood in the signature line version. I don't know. I think Rich Mitch thinks there's amberwood in everything. Shout out Rich Mitch. Um, but there's more patchouli, and it just comes across as when you smell something and you can smell there's something missing.
Yeah.
In the signature line version, having smelled this version, there's there is a depth and a texture that is missing for me in the signature line version.
Wow.
I don't want to give you FOMO because this stuff is again, I don't know the market in Japan or anything.
Yeah.
You can't find this anymore in the US. For the funny story actually, I saw a 250 ml one of those big decanter bottles come up for this, right?
Yeah.
And I tried to buy it from this lady, and she would not ship it to me.
Oh,
Local pickup only, she said. And it was in like LA or something. So it's across the whole country.
yeah.
So I have some friends in LA and I said, listen, this is going to be really weird, but you're going to have to go you're going to have to go to this lady's house and get this perfume for me. So then we arranged this and she still didn't want to do it.
What?
So that just completely fell through. I never got it.
No
But yeah.
way. Wow. Man, yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that just really quickly, just to kind of go off on a slight tangent, and we'll go back to Beau de Jour. But
Yeah, of
like, it
course.
was funny, like, you had made a purchase, like I think it was a vintage bottle of something, I can't remember, but it was Amouage. But anyways, you had talked about the transfer of hands going from Europe, and then,
A
you know,
beloved man.
or, yes, Rich Mitch had it, and then it went to
That
Daniel, and then
went
it went to, or
from
whatever.
Daniel went to a shop, found it in a shop. He bought it. I bought it from Daniel from Seldomly Often. Daniel gave it to Mo. Mo gave it to Rich Mitch. Rich Mitch shipped it to me.
It's hilarious, man. The transfer of hands.
Yeah.
Dang,
Fragcom
man.
is a special place with a great
Yeah,
community. So
indeed, indeed. But yeah, man, so Beau de Jour. So what is it about this fragrance that you're really drawn to or attracted to?
it's a fougere.
Yeah.
Fougere is probably my favorite sort of category if I had to pick. And it has the lavender style I like and the patchouli that I like, and it's heavy on both, right?
Ooh.
So it's a lavender patchouli heavy fougere, and that's pretty much end game for me. Like it,
Does
it's
this
oh my God, it's
does this
so
have
like
does it have like that I don't know if you get this, but I definitely get this from the signature version that I have. It has this kind of shaving foam type of
yes,
creaminess. Does that version still have that?
absolutely.
Wow.
It's so yeah, you're right. Shaving foam creaminess, green, unapologetic sort of hairy chested patchouli. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then it
Ooh.
has that what I can only describe as the purple lavender texture, the
Yeah.
creamy purple lavender texture. Got some amazing slight woodiness. There's maybe some geranium in here, giving that like almost like a minty brightness in this. Do you get that from the signature line version?
A little
Like
bit.
almost a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the
Amazing fragrance.
in the signature version, and I wonder too, like in the signature version, just in my opinion, and I've never smelled the private line version, but I feel like in the signature version, the lavender comes off slightly sharp. I don't know, like if do you feel like the lavender in that version does it feel, and I don't know, maybe in the signature version to you, maybe you don't think the lavender comes off sharp, but like how is the lavender in this version?
I would say there's you're talking about like the lavender sort of metallic edge, something like
Yeah.
sartorial-y sort of thing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say there is a little bit of that metallic lavender thing going on.
Hmm.
It's not too sharp though. To me, it is very, very creamy, very shaving foamy sort of
Yeah.
thing.
And you know what? I have seen bottles of that floating around here for
It's worth it.
for not for fairly inexpensive.
It's worth it.
So I might have to pull the trigger on that.
It's one of the only fragrances in my collection I have a backup bottle for.
Really?
Yep. I
Wow.
don't buy backup bottles. I have backup bottles of this.
And just out of curiosity about like if you don't mind me asking about like what are bottles like that typically going for?
Now, I mean, I haven't really looked, but they'll pop up for 50 ml, but like two something. If you can get it for
Okay.
200, I would buy that all day personally. If you
Yeah.
can get it for any lower than 200 and it's like a high partial of 50 ml, buy
Yeah.
that. If you can get 100 ml for 250 all day and a decanter, I'd pay $500 for a decanter.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't even think about it.
Gosh, yeah, wow, man. I mean, that's nice to hear about those kind of differences. I'm actually, because I have nothing else to compare it to, I'm a really big fan of that Beau de Jour. But again, I've only smelled it, the signature line.
I do just want to emphasize that I think Mo said it best. There are certain fragrances where there are different versions and there's a
Hmm.
difference between those versions, right?
Yeah,
But the difference is only about 5%, right? But in some fragrances, the 5% is the difference between it being a good fragrance and an all-time great fougere, which is what I think the private blend of Beau de Jour is, in my opinion. I
wow,
genuinely believe that difference makes it shifts it to a completely different category of like greatness for me personally.
wow. Now, in terms of like, if you were looking at like top three fougères, does that make like the top three for you or top five?
Absolutely,
Wow,
absolutely. Yeah, for
wow.
me personally, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
It would probably be something like Beau de Jour, Bracken, Invasion Barbar, and then I'd have to think about the other two.
I brought this. Have you seen this?
Is that a hold on? I need to.
Uh,
That is Vetiver by Guerlain, is it not?
yeah, this is the Eau de Cologne
That's old.
vetiver.
I've never seen that bottle.
Yeah, yeah. This is what it sprayer kind of
Okay.
looks like there.
Yep.
So I mean, very, very old school.
You can't fake those vintage stems, you know what I
You
mean? The
cannot. Yeah. And so this basically I got this one also off Metacarty for, you're probably gonna laugh, but about 20
20
bucks.
bucks. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I can say about this though is this one had slightly turned. And if you've ever smelled like a turned fragrance, it has this very metallic kind of
Yeah, like a
edge
harshness.
harshness to the top, but after you start to push a bit into the dry down, it's totally fine, right? And that's, you just kind of have to get through that kind of, you have to let the top burn off, and then once you start pushing into the mid, it's fine. But I think what makes this fragrance distinctly masculine to me is the note of vetiver, obviously. For me,
Yeah.
that is a masculine note.
Yeah.
Like,
I 100% agree with you. It's vetiver for me actually. I've tried so many vetiver fragrances. I It's just not my favorite note. It never has been. I appreciate it. I enjoy it. It's just I would rather wear other things, you know.
yeah.
But it has that sort of the rootiness, earthiness, some dampness about it. It does smell very distinctly masculine.
It definitely does. And I think yeah, I mean, and it's not that bad. It's actually, this one just has it's turned slightly, not like fully turned, just slightly.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I can still pick up on some citruses in here, but it's like that citrusy, very dry, woody vetiver.
Yeah.
And there's even kind of like this light smokiness kind of floating through here. But man, just very. And I would say, like, if you're comparing this to, like, have you smelled like the modern Guerlain vetiver?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I feel like Guerlain does a really good job at keeping things pretty standard to what they were. They don't, they're really good with their kind of reformulations, in my opinion.
Absolutely. They're like Chanel in that regard.
Absolutely, absolutely. Guerlain. Yeah, I would say that you can pick up like this light kind of tobacco kind of floating through here a little bit too.
Yeah.
Very herbal. Um, yeah, I mean it's beautiful, beautiful scent. But again, I wish that I could have found this in a little bit better quality. Do you own Guerlain vetiver?
I don't. I don't.
Because you don't like vetiver. right?
Yeah, I can't do it.
Do you feel like, obviously as we go through this kind of fragrance wheel, do you feel like have there been any other notes that you've been able to come back around to? And do you feel like maybe vetiver is one of those notes that in time you will eventually come around to?
I've done so many 180s, I've lost count.
Yeah.
With vetiver, I am confident I won't.
And just out of curiosity, what is it about vetiver that is challenging?
I think it's boring.
Okay, yeah,
I really think it's boring to wear. For me personally, I'm not,
yeah.
I don't, I would rather just wear something else that I perceive to be as more enjoyable for me.
But I think a vetiver is like a professional note. And it
Extremely professional. Yes.
and there's nothing like there's no sexiness or like
No, no. It is
nothing there's nothing
we're getting
sexy
down
about
to
vetiver.
business now, sort of
Yeah,
note. Like
that's right. It's just
I
a
smell
very
like a root, okay? So we're
yes, yes, yes. But yeah, I think again, kind of like touching back on this, like there's no lavender, there's no oak moss in here or anything that I think for, that we register those notes as being distinctly masculine. There's none of that in here, but the vetiver itself is what makes this fragrance distinctly masculine. Um,
absolutely.
but yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is one of those fragrances that I don't know. I love vetiver, as you probably know, but so yeah, this is a love for me, and even the modern versions of this, I absolutely love. Have you just out of curiosity, and I know you don't like vetiver, but have you ever smelled like Sultan vetiver by Nishane?
I have. I have.
It must have
It's
been a
not,
horrible experience for you.
it wasn't horrible. It's just I don't like it.
Yeah, yeah. And that is a slap of vetiver.
I will say my favorite vetiver of all time, if I had to pick, is by Mayo Fushuni. It's Spirito by Mayo Fushuni.
Oh, I've never smelled that one.
You know, honestly, it kind of people compare it to Parfums de Marly Percival.
Really?
Yeah. And I honestly have to say, they're kind of correct. But of course, the Mayo Fushuni is more, high quality. But the interesting thing that the Mayo Fushuni does is it is this sort of fizzy, effervescent, almost like watery vetiver. And
Yeah.
to me, that's sort of that makes it a little bit more interesting for me to wear. It's fresher, it's not as like dry and rooty. And I really enjoy that about it.
Wow, nice, man. Nice. Wow.
All right.
Yeah. What
So
else? Do
we
you
have
have any?
one last one we want to talk about here.
Yes.
I mentioned I brought some leathers. Of course, we talked about Antaeus.
Ooh, yeah.
This is a different type of leather though. This is Parfum d'Empire Eau de Gloire.
Wow. This is a brand I want to dive
So,
into. Yeah.
oh, Curtis. Parfum d'Empire is like good luck, man. You're gonna spend this is fantastic brand. Okay, so you know Hermes Bellamy.
Yes.
This is Marc-Antoine Corticato's take on Bellamy. And I have personally owned mid-vintage Bellamy. So
Yeah.
in the taller, more slender bottle, kind of like this,
Yes.
not the shaker bottle, the deep vintage. This is my favorite Hermes Bellamy take, like sort of DNA ever. Um, and it's a spicy French leather, basically.
Hmm.
It has beautiful citruses up top that gives it like a freshness.
Yeah.
Um, but then you definitely go into this like spicy, slightly culinary sort of coriander, peppery, woody spices. And then under all of that is this beautiful, not animalic at all, very French feeling, clean, but still distinctly leathery leather note. And
Wow.
that's kind of what Bellamy is. But this one to me, the reason I prefer it over vintage Bellamy is I mean, people are gonna rip me apart in the comments, I'm sure, because Bellamy is like one of those things where it is like sacred. But to me, I've always felt it comes off a little bit synthetic to my
Okay.
nose,
Yeah.
and this does not. So I think
Ooh.
that fixes it for me.
And can I ask specifically about the leather note in there? Is this more of like is this more of like a horsey leather or like a suede type of leather or more of a dark leather?
Let's find out.
Yeah.
So I would say this is definitely not a horsey leather.
Okay.
Definitely not. I don't know if you've ever smelled Roch by Roberto Greco
No.
or Ruad by Parfum d'Empire. No?
No.
Those are horsey leathers. I mean, I'm
Okay.
talking about like saddle smell leather. This
Yeah.
is more of not quite suede,
Okay.
but it is a fresh piece of beautifully tanned, ready to go, made into an Hermes purse leather.
Ooh.
It's not quite suede though. You know what I mean? Like suede leathers to me are more they almost have like a fuzzy feel, like a smooth, not it almost doesn't commit to being a full leather to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's still leather.
Have you smelled Queer d'Ange by Hermes?
Yes, yes.
Is that a horsey leather to you?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna have to say no.
Is that the type of leather used in that fragrance?
No.
No. Okay.
So I would really say that this is sort of its. You've smelled Bellamy.
Yes, I have it.
It's the Bellamy leather. So
Okay.
whatever type of it's that definite sort of spicy, I would say smooth
Yeah.
French leather.
Got it. Okay.
That's the best way I can describe it. There's beautiful citruses, tons of spices. The leather in the here, if I had to describe it as a single note, freshly tanned, maybe very slightly animalic. I'm talking about like just a very tasteful, like 2% little bite. Smooth, ready to go. Not yet cut up to be made into anything. Inoffensive, at least in my opinion, but still distinctly leather.
I feel like that brand is super underrated.
It's criminal. It's,
Yeah,
I'm gonna do an entire house overview. Spoiler. I have the literal
oh,
entire house discovery set. I'm gonna go through all of them in
whoa,
like an
dude. Oh,
hour video.
I'd be excited to hear that. And that, I'm saying that the brand is underrated, and that's coming from somebody who's never smelled anything from the brand, but I've heard so many good things about them.
It's super underrated. In
Wow.
my opinion, and of course this is all subjective and everyone has their own thing, but from my personal taste and what I really like in fragrances, and just from appreciating a brand from a quality perspective, from a consistency perspective,
Yeah.
from the brand owner being apparently a great guy perspective, according to many, many people that have met him, including Daniel and Mo, they all reiterate that fact. Parfum de Empire comes off to me as like a real one. You know what I mean? Like this is
Yeah.
a brand, enthusiast level brand. You're gonna get what you pay for in terms of quality. No amberwoods, none of these weird modern molecules. The materials used are fantastic, but the perfumer is unbelievably skilled. I haven't smelled a bad release from his brand.
Wow.
I truly, truly have not.
And
And while I prefer other releases from his
mhm.
brand more than some others, but I have to say I would never say that he's made a bad perfume for his own brand, and that's just impressive.
Indeed. Yeah, and one thing about that brand too, again, I don't own any bottles from them, but when I've searched that brand on Lucky Scent, just taking note of like their pricing, it's actually I feel like they're unless they've recently changed, but I feel like they're one of the few brands that is continuing to do things right, right? It's
Yep.
not outrageous pricing. It's like, I don't know if it, do they, is they selling 50 or 100 mils? I don't remember, but if
Both.
both, okay. So I think it's like a 50 mil or something. Last time I looked for like $140 or something like that. There you go. Like that. Is that 50?
This is 50, and these bottles have a little Corsican castle. I'm not sure if you can see
Oh
that.
wow, yeah. Yeah,
That's
beautiful.
cool.
Beautiful. Yeah, man. It is a brand that I definitely want to look into. And yeah, they're one of the few that are still doing things right nowadays. Wow,
I
man.
would heavily agree. And they have they just their new release, Madagascar Le Bon Vanille,
How is
one of the
that?
best vanillas ever made, in my opinion. It's
Really?
up there with Vinny Havan. Um,
Ooh. Does it
it's
compare to
fan
Vinny Havan?
in terms of overall like category, right? Vinny Havan, I would say, is a boozy, spicy, darker take on vanilla.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to say. Madagascar Le Bon Vanille is definitely in the same idea space, but they are distinctly different smells, in my opinion. But they're both spicy vanillas, which is it's interesting.
Wow.
Um, and actually, I really applaud Parfum d'Empire for being able to release a vanilla fragrance in today's market that
Oh,
doesn't come off as derivative.
yeah.
It's still distinctly a unique take on vanilla. It isn't boring, and it doesn't necessarily copy anything else.
And can I
Um,
ask real quick about that? Is it because like vanilla, I usually classify it as like edible or non-edible. Is this more of a non-edible vanilla? I hope you say yes.
yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
You've smelled Vinny Havan.
Yeah, I have it.
It's that boozy, like Daniel from Seldomly Often. I mean, I don't want to just regurgitate everything that he says, obviously, but I really agree with his point in here. Vinny Havan is an adult gourmand, right?
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
Madagascar Le Bon Vanille, I would say, is also in that category of something that would never come off as sugary
Juvenile or
sweet,
yeah, okay.
juveniles, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Got it.
Also, the Madagascar Le Bon Vanille has a distinct heavy clove note, a very
Ooh.
woody, spicy, heavy clove note in the opening.
Ooh, I actually really love the clove when it's used in perfume. So
One of my
yeah.
favorite notes. If you love clove, I'm not sure if you've ever smelled this. I'll give you a suggestion. Frederick Malle Noir à Piece.
Ooh, I've never smelled that.
It's by Michel Runitska, who is the son of Edmund Runitska,
Who did Eau
right?
d'Hermes, right?
Who did Eau de Hermes and, of course, Eau Sauvage by Dior. Um, and Michel Runitska, he's kind of infamous for basically never perfuming anything. If you look at his Fragrantica page to see what he's perfumed,
Mm-hmm.
I think the last thing he made was maybe 6 years ago, something like that.
Oh wow.
And tragically, I do have to say, the new version of Noir Piece, it might even be discontinued. And the version that was modern before they got rid of it was kind of watered down and ruined. If you can find a bottle, and I'll send you pictures after, Curtis, if you
Yeah.
can find a bottle where it says 70%, 77% volume on the back of it with a specific text, amazing fragrance. Like it
Wow.
is this, it's a rose orange clove fragrance.
Ooh,
So it has syrupy orange with this beautiful sort of big velvety rose and a dark woody clove thing.
that sounds
Really good.
phenomenal, actually.
Really
And
good.
it's quite a unique combination of notes there.
Yeah, I've never smelled anything exactly like it. There's one that
Yeah.
comes to mind by Serge Luton's I don't remember the name,
Hmm.
but it's definitely its own beast.
I've already taken so much of your time, man. So we'll go ahead and wrap things up here. But dude, Max, thanks so much for joining me today. I definitely learned a lot. I have a lot of notes here, and I think there's going to be a big hole burned in my wallet this afternoon, and I'm
I
going to
apologize. I'm
blame
so
you
sorry about that.
100%. But yeah, thanks for the knowledge and insight into these fragrances, man, and again for taking the time today. Is there any parting words you have, or?
Ladies and gentlemen, I guess if you're watching this channel or this video and you've made it to this point, we can probably safely assume you're a real one when it comes to like fragrance content. Probably a big enthusiast, right? At least very into perfume. Um, but if you're not, I would just say if you're building your collection, if you want to get into perfume, ignore the hype. Really just
Yeah.
go on your own flow, find your own taste, and just enjoy it. And Curtis and I, we love vintage masculine fragrances. Uh, you might not. You might like gourmands, or you might like something else. Just do what you need to do. You don't need a collection that looks like everyone else's.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can you can make your own stuff.
I will link Max's information in the description below. So go over and subscribe to Max. He has awesome content and he's very consistent with his content that he's putting out. So you can definitely look forward to multiple videos each week. But yeah, man, Max, dude, appreciate the time. It was good times. And yeah, we'll talk to you later.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Take care.
Bye bye.